things. So space, as it would sound to you, it's your coordinate. It's where you're located, and you share that coordinate like a coordinate on a map, longitude, latitude, dot. That's you. That's your space. You share it with a host of other beings. Now that space is where anyone in the cosmos, in the third dimensional model that we find ourselves in, will be able to find you. It doesn't change. It's set when you come in. It's set when you're incarnated. Now you might say, well, what happens if I travel? Well, what happens if you travel is that your coordinate doesn't shift. You will always be found in that coordinate. You have a spot in space-time. Your seat is reserved. And it's a little bit like, say you're having a really epic dream, and in that epic dream, you're having a wild journey and you're traveling all over the map, right? All over the world. But if I needed to find you, all I'd have to do is go into your bedroom and you'd be on the bed. That's your location. So even though you're journeying and you're experiencing travel, I can still find you because you're in that dream space. So your location is your coordinate, and it is unique to you. It's like having your own cosmic PO box. Now, as I've said, what they've shown me is the 9 is that you share it with an infinite number of other beings. It feels like it should be a crowded space, but it isn't, because you're all resonating at a different frequency. So you're all in the same space, but you're not picking up each other. Sometimes, however, and this has happened to me, I don't know if it's happened to you, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you suddenly become aware that you have entered a space, or you're in a space rather, where you feel the presence of others. So sometimes that's just a little, what they call bleed through, resonance bleed through. So your coordinate is given to you from Creator Source because you're entangled by Creator Source. Creator Source is omniscient, so present everywhere, omnipresent. And you have your spot, and Creator Source knows where you are, because like a mother with a child who's in a crowded room and all the babies are crying. This is how they're explaining it to me. You know the sound of your own baby crying. So you have a harmonic tune, resonance, frequency, signal, call it what you want, song. You give off something that is unique to you, and you broadcast that from your coordinate in space. So Creator Source God always knows where you are, and you're always the word that they keep using is not entangled, it's nested. You're always nested. So there's no separation because everything is source. So let's talk about time. So this morning I heard it's all about origami, and I know nothing about origami. Just want to be clear. I know that it's a fancy way of folding paper. And they said to me, get a plain piece of paper. Right, let's just do this. I need to get better props, I appreciate that. But that's 2D. That's a flat piece of paper, right? You've got a line, and at one side you've got past, now, future. And that's how most of us, if we default into thinking about time, we just see linear time. We just see this line. We just see ourselves living along a timeline. But it actually isn't like that, because we're actually living in the third dimension. So it's more like, and I drew this out, but it was rubbish, so I don't want to show it to you. It's more like a spiral, okay? So imagine a spiral, and you've got the outer ring, which is the biggest ring, and then it coils all the way to the center. Now, they said that time is malleable. It's experienced differently depending on your age. So the first year of a baby's life, the first year feels like a whole lifetime to a baby. So that first year of life that you were born felt like an eternity, just felt like an entire life. And that's because you've just come in, you've just incarnated, and everything gets slowed down so that you can adjust you can adjust to being in the material world. It's a huge adjustment being here. It's time travel. So the body has to get in sync with this I am spirit that's in it, nested in it. The second year, your toddler years, also feel like an epic age, long, long, long. And just cast your mind back to when you were very, very little. Do you remember how long it seemed until your birthday or to Christmas, or how long it felt before, the summer holidays when you were off school, when you were really little? And time just seemed to ebb by. But the older we get, it just feels like time speeds up. And it isn't really that there's significant changes in time, it's just the way we comprehend time shifts. So we manipulate time. We manipulate time through consciousness, and we all have had the experience of having an amazing afternoon, a golden afternoon where everything just flowed and it felt like time had stood still. Sometimes when two people meet and they fall in love, in that moment, they get frozen in time. Everything slows down. That's the power of consciousness on time. And then at other times, it just whizzes by. So we've all experienced that. So space and time, they're interconnected, they're nested. And one thing I wanted to talk about before I kind of dig into origami a bit more, because I did a little bit of research, is this idea of time travel through consciousness and how we can interdimensionally fold time. So I'm going to give you an example. Again, rudimentary. Piece of paper, 2D. On the one side, we've got 2024. That's me. That's where I am right now. Over here, I've got 4024. That's a 2000. That's a timeline gap of 2000 years. Okay, that's my future. That's me 2000 years in the future. Well, what if I told you that I'm connected to somebody 2000 years in my future? I am. And how it happens is, and it happens for all of us, is you can fold time like this, and through interdimensional awareness, so imagine this pencil represents that. You can pop this through, and you've connected 2 points instantaneously. And I'm not a physicist, but I'm sure there's some physics reason to this. And you can share the now moment. You can connect. And this may be what happens to a lot of people who channel other beings. They are interdimensionally connected because they've collapsed space and time in the third dimension. So that's something I wanted to share with you. The other thing they wanted me to show you is that right now, so imagine this, those Spanish or Japanese fans that go all the way around? Imagine this went all the way around into a circle. It's a fan, right? I folded it. And imagine each of these folds represented a century. Now this is you. So let's say you're here, and let's say you've got 1,000 years represented in this circle, right? And all of these lives that you're living in time are all happening now. They're all happening now. Now, using our own understanding of how we can fold space-time and become omniscient through more awareness, we can collapse all those lives. And what I want you to imagine, and I found a picture that I'm going to share after this replay. I want you to imagine this collapsed into a spiral, into a very intricate paper spiral that twists like a coil. Then I want you to imagine that coil, that golden folded coil of all of those different lives going into a tube like this. This is the third dimension. And that tube representing, in this now moment, all of the now moments. And that awareness being omniscience, godlike presence all the way through. And it's called nested now moments. Nested now moments. That's what we're doing all the time. We just don't realize it. So the idea of origami, it's an ancient art that combines advanced mathematics, sacred geometry, and alchemy, in the sense that it takes a flat little piece of paper, and with just an intricate folding, unfolding, it can create very elaborate geometric shapes. I didn't know this, but a lot of physicists and mathematicians will take origami and they will use it before they go on their computers and create simulations of advanced mathematical equations. And they do that because it's an immediate rendition of the 3D reality. So how many bends and curves are in your life? How delicately and deftly are you prepared to manipulate what it was you were given? How much do we explore the spaces and the shapes that come from being in the third dimension? It's so easy for us to flatline into a linear way of living. Same things, different day, another year on, a decade on, when really we are the origami masters, and we're constantly invited to play around these shapes that make our lives up. So to me, that was, when I get this information, I just go with it. And again, I'm going to share a beautiful article that I came across literally 10 minutes before I went live. So I'm a bit flushed. And I raced through it, and I'm going to share the art of origami and how it relays practically. You don't have to be a physicist or a mathematician to get this. Children get it. You put children on a craft table, they'll create something extraordinary out of all kinds of materials. Well, we're invited to have that playful, artisanal approach to space and time, to this thing we call life, to this nested now moment that is so ultimately precious and connected to all of the other now moments. And together they make this beautiful symphony and this beautiful architecture. So what I also heard this morning is that what we're talking about here is non-physical, interdimensional architecture. Again, you could say sacred geometry, it's the same thing. You could say spirit, it's the same thing. It's just how we can bring these ideas into the material world and create innovation. So recreating ourselves constantly. No origami master is worried about folding in the wrong way. He or she will always unfold it, unpick it, sit with it, and then go back and try again. And that's what we're asked to do. Space and time is simply a model within which we get to play. It is not the egg timer. It's not a race against time. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to dance and sing and create